High vibrations, sweet babies. How are we? How are we doing? If you have been listening to nearly all of my audios, I'm like turning up the volume on my phone as if it's gonna make me talk louder. Y'all. Oh my goodness. The theme of my message today is to remind you to rest, okay? And clearly it is coming from a personal truth because my brain is tired, okay? My brain is very tired. I feel like as creative people, it's very helpful to tune into this sort of fluctuation that happens naturally for us. There's like this creative action, putting a lot of energy outward, a lot of communication, connection, speaking things into existence, aligning ourselves to, welcome in some really cool things. But there's also this very real and important need for rest. And I remember being in a place in my artist creative journey where I felt like rest was just not important. It was just not something I gave importance to or made a priority in my life. I was an insomniac for most of my life. I would be up all night, and I still to this day feel like some of my best ideas happen after midnight. I was born at 11:45 p.m. so I just feel like that's when I came into the world. That's when I was ready to party, and I think that has kind of been an underlying energy for most of my life. However, I also really enjoy being up early and watching the sunrise, taking advantage of, having so many hours of sunlight, embracing sunlight, being outdoors, laying under the sun with people or connecting with people. I love being a part of like the hustle and bustle of everyday life. And there was a period of time when I was just like working all the time, up late because my circadian clock was off, my hormones were a mess, and then I would be out all the time. Many of you know me as a raver, which is so funny because some of you know me as model, work, maybe a workaholic if we're being completely honest, and hustle, profesh mode. Either way, you both know that like I got some really wild hours, a lot of energy, a lot of ideas. But there is a time when this girl is resting and nesting, okay? Now, I definitely became more a part of the Homebody Club in the last couple of years. I am really grateful to have been in a relationship that definitely grounded me. But I think I just really wanted to focus on other things. And that's actually one of the cards that I pulled for us today, fam. I pulled 3 oracle cards for us creative folks and for our rest. But that was like really one of the big things for me was that if I really wanted to put my best into a project, if I really wanted to focus on something important to me or really wanted to see the potential of something reach its full bloom, that's where I struggled. I struggled because I wasn't taking a very natural creative process. It was a very direct, it was a very unconscious process, and I didn't give myself enough time to rest. I would work. I would burn out. Things wouldn't get done. Then I'd have a new idea come in, and it's like, obviously I am somebody who deals with the symptoms of ADHD very strongly. But I feel like as creatives, many people can kind of relate to this feeling of like starting a lot of things, not finishing them, feeling disconnected from their work, losing the passion for their purpose, feeling very overworked, burnt out, and just low energy. There's nothing scary about being low energy or even reaching a burnout and needing to rest. It feels very frustrating, it gets very debilitating, and I think when we maybe know that there is a flow state that exists for us naturally, when we feel that resistance show up, it becomes even more frustrating because we know it's in such polarity from the way that we want to be operating from. Because we might have felt that. We might have felt into that when we were creating or we're doing our purpose. And it's sometimes hard to pull out of that. And it feels like a very, it's just like so high vibrational to be doing what you love. And so in the zone, right? But there becomes a point when we're like, oh my God, this is like taking a lot of thought power. I'm putting so much of my creational energy, my womb energy into this project. And taking that time for rest, self-care, reflection is really so powerful, to restore, replenish, so that we can continue. It's like this never-ending infinity sign of like the creation, the need for rest, and the creation, and like the energy builds up and the momentum, and then, you know, so if you think of like the woo, woo, like that's kind of how it is. And when we are able to stop fighting that resistance that shows up when it's no longer time for us to act, or no longer even time for us to rest, maybe, you know, on the other side of things, that's when we really stay into flow and we're able to really achieve some beautiful things. Real quick, Labradorite might be an important symbol right now. This is a really beautiful crystal. It's a Sagittarius stone. It's also known as a shaman stone because it works with all the energy centers. Most crystals or precious minerals gravitate towards like one or two, just depending on the energy, the vibrational frequency that is residing around the mineral. And Labradorite works with them all. It's known as the shaman stone because it pulls a lot of head space, head energy, crown space, even soul star energy insights down through the energy centers into the root chakra. So it's giving us a lot of like full body insight, full body, very grounded clarity, and connection to intuition, which is like really cool, if you ask me, because so many times in my life, and I've heard so many times from other people, that when it comes to really tapping into intuition, it can be a very imbalancing doesn't feel like a real word, like a destabilizing process, because all of that very upper energy kind of takes over, and we can feel very unrooted, ungrounded, and imbalanced, destabilized. But the way that Labradorite is kind of nudging us to connect inward, to connect to our intuition, is a very more body felt experience. It asks us to pause with our intuition and feel into it, feel our body's responses to what our insights are and what our soul connection might be telling us, right? That soul star is connected to some really higher wisdom, and the more we open up to it, we open up to our higher self and our highest wisdom, and we can actually feel into it here in the physical plane, to know that it feels good and resonant for us, feel that true alignment all the way through. I think I'm getting a little woo-woo as I do when I talk about crystals, but that's what keeps showing up, and it's showing up this is like how you don't have tower moment after tower moment after tower moment where you have to relearn these kinds of lessons. So I had an interview yesterday at the event that I was working, and it was amazing. I enjoyed every second of it, and I got to connect with the romantic and creative partner of a photographer who I've worked with for a little over a year now, and that was just fun. I loved that. But I just really enjoyed some of the questions that she asked me, and she asked me about astrology. Wasn't expecting that. Totally loved it, because I did a full moon shoot with her hubby, and I was like, we have to do it on this date. The moon will be full. Like, this is when we have to do this. And he was super cooperative about that, so I'm really glad. But they were asking me kind of questions about how that influences how I show up and creatively. And it absolutely affects how I show up in, like, always, and especially in my creative pursuits. So it was just cool being able to talk about that, but I kind of feel like just nudged in the direction. 12? Bruh, you can't make this stuff up, bro. Dude, that made me so happy. Wow. Getting nudged in the direction to have more conversation. If you know what 1212 like means in numerology, oh my god, that just really made me so happy. Give me a second. Let me not be all over the place. I'm gonna be full disclosure with you. I need to get more of my mushroom medications for my brain, especially where I'm at hormonally. Oh. All right, I'm right on track. I am right on track. That was another topic that I wanted to talk to you about. So let me just move right into that, because honestly, that conversation that I had with them, with her, was really a nudge in the direction of yeah, you are meant to talk on these things. People are curious about this, and it's been something I've been feeling like I want to do more and more of, more audio showing up and creating more of a space around sharing informational things and actually doing interviews as well. So I don't know, it just felt very much like affirmation, and then to see 1212 was like, see, exactly. But I was also feeling, just kind of as I was doing my thing this morning, it's important to, as an artist, understand the activities that you're doing, and if they feel restful, if they feel replenishing, or if you feel like it's taking a lot out of you, right? So, for instance, there are times when I really need to rest and let my body rest, but then I feel this obligation, this push to do my workouts, which is good. I want to be working out and I want to feel that motivation to stick to something like that. But at the same time, it could be too much on my body. Hormonally, I really don't want to be overdoing anything on my body that's already burnt out. Let's just use this example, right? So instead, I'll find something that's more of a low cortisol activity, and might even still be some kind of movement. But I'm just starting to pay a little bit more attention to my hormones and kind of specifically, my female hormones, like that's a real thing. It deserves a lot of recognition. But if you're feeling burnt out often, there might be some low cortisol, happy hormone activities that you could be doing that are just like fun for you. And I also felt encouraged to tell you, like, there's a lot of really weird, unique, specific activities that are like so individual that you could be so into. Like, I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head. Like, my great-grandfather was super into coin collecting, and finding ones with specific dates and putting them into these maps, and just the amount of focus he would get into, like, doing this activity. And it was a very, like, we all knew in the family that this was something he did. He took it seriously. You could walk into his house and it would be like that time for him. And he would have jars all around him and a little microscope like eye thing that he would shove into his like socket, and he would be like looking at all of these coins. And this is making me like so nostalgic. That was like a very him thing, and he made it look so interesting that like somehow all of us were like kind of wanting to do it, and we all had our own maps, but like for some reason we just never could fill out a map the way that he could. And it was just because it was something he got so into, and it was such a him thing. And it really is, like, the older I am now and like the astrology behind it, I'm like, wow, that is a very to a T him thing. But there's all kinds of like little weird quirky things that I feel like we have a desire to do, and we just kind of like don't, and we kind of do the very typical just chill out, do the same things, scroll holes. I'm guilty of it myself, absolutely. And I'm just feeling like the more weird we are willing to get, where, if you think of Jim Morrison's Where's Your Will to Be Weird, like, the more unique and individual our little like hobbies can be, the more it feeds our art, the more it puts something authentic and unique into our artwork in whatever medium that is, because we're allowing ourselves to just explore. And when, I think any artist can speak to this, of like when we're not actually creating in our modality, like our specific medium, and we go off and for me, raise your hand if you know I love travel. Like, for me, traveling is absolutely where I feel so inspired, and I'm like getting a ton of ideas. My notes are a scary place, okay? My Pinterest boards are plentiful, because I'm always like traveling, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I love the way that I don't know, the sky looks right now, and I would love to try to like encapsulate this type of sky in a shoot. And I'll go onto a Pinterest board and I'll like I don't know, get a bunch of weird color set designs that are in the sky color, like I'm always feeling really inspired by life. And I think we have to be willing to like receive that. We have to be in this receptivity mode for inspiration, and sometimes it takes like diligent carving out and sometimes actual effort to force ourselves to be into this space. Because here's the thing, I have spoke on this briefly in audios for my coaching side of things, and if you are interested to be learning more about like the creative process, specifically like being a digital creator and how to stay authentic online and how to be actually successful in the digital space as a creative, I can for sure point you in the direction for all of those types of things that I'm up to. But I have spoke a little bit on this topic in the past of just like knowing when to be a creator and when to be a consumer, right? Because we have a very consumerist society, and it's almost like default mode. The default mode is to be a consumer versus a creator. So when we're in default mode, it's just like immediately consume information, consume trends, consume social feeds. Like, it is feeding you all kinds of things from the moment you open it, and there's always an agenda. I don't like anything with an agenda. I got too many trust issues for that kind of stuff. It's just no. I want to be very clear on our motives, and I don't always feel like social media has a very positive motive, you know what I mean? Here's a great example. My modeling page, when I've been on that account, has been advertising like lip fillers. Now, I don't know if you know me like that, but if you have ever seen my face, like, I don't think that's the first thing that I would do to my face. I've got pretty big ass lips, to be honest. And I remember as a young girl when the nips and tucks weren't so normalized, I was actually made fun of for how big my lips were. And then I watched trends change over time. Kylie Jenner was a huge one from my generation of like injecting shit into her lips, and then all of a sudden this whole like perspective on my lips were like very changed, and now it's ridiculous to me as a Black woman to be being advertised lip injections. That's hilarious. Like, it's just so weird. Especially having like, gone through the whole experience. The jokes of being DSL in high school were rampant. Not a fun time. So, I don't trust the agenda necessarily of the things that we have like been defaulted to consume, right? And this can come in the shape of billboards. This can come in the shape of television commercials, magazines. This can be, and I feel like I can absolutely speak firsthand to the idea of magazines because I am a glamour model, and a lot of times my work is just like so it's just an unrealistic like standard to be comparing a multitude of people to, because there's the right lighting, it is like the retouches, it is like the best makeup, it is me holding and flexing my pose for so long that I like literally can't move my legs after being on set because my toes were in such a position. Like, it's just not reality. And I think when we're able to appreciate the artistic standpoint from it and stop the comparison or the consumerist standpoint from it, that's when we're able to actually like appreciate things for what they are. But that's just not the way the society has built things or set up things, because you can't profit off of everyone just appreciating things. So it's very important to, I think, for anyone, whether you're just a person or a creative person, or identify as a creative person, because we're all creators, to just know when you're over consuming. I love a nice binge sesh on Netflix as much as the next person. But I also know that it's not necessarily inspiring my artwork in any way. I can't really think of a time, besides maybe like the Cleopatra documentary, where I like turned off the TV and I was like, I need to go and put this into my artwork. It just doesn't happen. I do think that by watching Bob's Burgers, I have become a more funny person. So I will say that. But really and truly, I don't see social media, when I get into my scroll holes, being conducive for my creative energy. I am absolutely somebody who thinks it's all about how you use it, being mindful, consciously following, consciously, setting aside intentional time to look at specific things, scroll in specific places on specific feeds to gather some inspiration or just support other people that you like their work, things of that nature. But the scroll holes will suck your creative energy dry. So when you're resting, be mindful of this consumer side of being the creator, and consider what things you're taking in and how conducive is it for your individuality, for your creativity, for your inspiration. I actually just recently got myself signed back up for Gaia TV, because there was a period of time when I deleted all my, or not deleted, I canceled. Oh my God, I'm like thinking of another. Deleted all my exes, whatever. Canceled all my subscriptions, and I was just watching Gaia instead, because I felt like I was too much in that consumer place, and I was like it was like the beginning of my spiritual journey, and I like felt like I was definitely in that ego wounding, what is it called? It's like the ego trap, in the ego trap of, I don't watch Netflix. I only watch documentaries about aliens and starseeds. Sorry. Can't relate to your Hulu experience. Like, yeah, no. That was not great for me either, because I became very much esoteric and just talking about all kinds of out there things that I was just like not able to connect and relate to day-to-day society. So like there's always a caveat if you just like overindulge in something. So don't fall into that ego trap the way that I did. You're still welcome to enjoy the modern day things, have your fun, relax. Like I feel like this is a message that needs to come through for somebody. Like, just who cares? Enjoy what you like. We are here in this time and space for a reason, not to punish ourselves about enjoying this very 3D playground, you know what I mean? But at the same time, if you are someone who wants to create really powerful things, if you feel like you are meant to expand as an artist or creative in some way, that requires like being a little bit more concerned about what you're focusing on, what things you're consuming, and of course being able to fluctuate between that rest and creation mode. All right, well, that was the reading for today. I'm wishing you so much love, so much peace and serenity. Take some time to do something and unwind. I've been loving, I call it my like modern day crate digging, where I'm like organizing all my playlists and like going back into some like playlists from when I was in high school, and loving on some music that's like forgotten to me. That to me is like a nice low cortisol, chill thing. Find your low cortisol, super unique, quirky hobbies, and please tell me about them because I am so into that. All right, take care.